a good Erev Shabbos Parshas Terumah. I want to share with you an amazing idea, and that is that the Talmud says that the Ark of the Covenant that was made in this week's Parsha had on it two kruvim, like two angels, two cherubs, I suppose you could say, one with the face of a boy and one with the face of the girl. That seems that they may have symbolized God, the boy, and the woman, the girl, being the Jewish people. And it symbolized our relationship with God. And so the Medrash says that when the Jewish people behaved wonderfully, the angels faced each other. But when we were misbehaving, they were back to back, as if to say God and Jewish people were not getting along. What's shocking about this is that when the temple was being destroyed by the Romans and they entered the Holy of Holies and they looked at it, they laughed. And they were like scorning. Look what's in the temple of the Jewish people. Statues, idols, it seemed to them. How could that be? But that can't be the meaning, because the Torah says that they were, the Talmud says, the Medrash says, that the kruvim were enmeshed. And if that sounds to you a lot more than just looking at each other, you're right. They were enmeshed one with the other, totally involved with each other. And the shocking thing is, why, when the Jewish people were suffering and sinning so strongly and suffering now because of those sins, what was the idea that God was loving them? One of my students once told me that his mother once said to him, that his father once said to her, that after the first time he was asked to do corporal punishment on their son when he was young for crossing the street, the father came to the mother afterwards and said that, Susan, I'm making the name up, don't ever ask me to do that again, because the love of a father for a child is keenest, believe it or not, when he has to administer a punishment. That's when you feel it the greatest, because of the contrast of what you're doing to them. You sense the love even more than normal. And therefore, when God was punishing the Jewish people for their misbehavior, the sensuous hatred that destroyed the Second Temple, he showed tremendous love expressed through the fact that the kruvim were enmeshed, entangled, one with the other, in an intimate embrace. And he loved us and loves us more than anything. And this can really show us that even in dark times when we don't feel God's love, we have to realize that he really does love us, and he loves us even more. But it also tells us that the kruvim are really the connecting point between God and man. And that's why the prophecy of the Jewish people came from between the kruvim to Moses and other prophets, or at least to Moses, I should say. But in any case, right below the top where the kruvim were the tablets, the Torah, where the average Jew, so to speak, can get his messages from God. But above that, higher than studying Torah, is the direct connection to God that a prophet can have that comes from between the kruvim. And that's why the voice came between the kruvim, because the kruvim represents the connection to God. In any case, we should really feel the love that God has for us. And I believe, as we mentioned last week, we should realize that we need to feel that God loves us, so we have more Jewish self-esteem, feel better about ourselves, because, as we said, believe it or not, that's the secret to fighting anti-Semitism, is believing in ourselves. Have a good Shabbos.